All right, people, it is Monday, and we're cruising in to the off-season nice and slow, but still giving you the number one forum for Crimson Tide football news. That being in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Proud to be here, ecstatic, very joyful to be here with you guys on this evening, bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now and hit that subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button right now. Get all of your friends to subscribe if you have not done so yet, so you can get all of the things that you crave on your Alabama football program. Also, leave a like. Run those likes up. Give us a thumbs up. Like the show as well. Turn on all of those notifications. Hit that bell so that way you can have all of your news, notes, entertainment on your Crimson Tide. We also got you covered here on Facebook and Twitter as well. Got a lot to discuss here on this evening. No guests, just me talking your Bama football, the Crimson Tide, with 11 players who have declared for the NFL draft. The latest came today. Inside linebacker Christian Harris decided to put his name into the draft hat. Also today, we honor a legend. We honor a man of change, a man of peace, a man of a movement, a man that inspired change and difference across the world, and that being one Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We honor Dr. King on today as well. But want to hear from you guys, the fans of Bama Nation. 205-448-1358 for number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you. Do not let tonight slip by without letting your passion, your words, your voice, your thoughts, your opinions, your viewpoints being made known here on the show. For daily super chat go, $75. Daily super chat go. Appreciate the support. They're coming from each of you. And we got the NFL playoffs going on right now. And for the New England Patriots, please to goodness, draft receivers. Mac Jones is the guy. Mac Jones is the future. But goodness gracious, draft receivers. Get some faster guys on defense, please, New England, because the future is bright there with Mac Jones at quarterback. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, continue working with one Jalen Hurts. I know he's not the polished passer that you would like for him to be, but he got this program to the playoffs after it missed the postseason in 2020. So continue to work there with Jalen Hurts. Jalen's going to continue to work to get better. But for the New England Patriots, goodness gracious, draft wide receivers and get you some faster guys here on defense. Guys, shout out my man Jimmy Cash Money Clay with that $50 donation, starting us off right here on a Monday. Appreciate that love coming from Jimmy Clay. But right now, John, we get in the topic number one here of the conversation, and there's been a lot of fans, local media and national media talking about how, Alabama losing Drew Sanders, Alabama losing Jamir Billingsley, crippling loss, painful loss. This is going to hurt Alabama. This is going to just really just crumble Alabama, really crippling loss, hurting both of those two, losing both of those two individuals to the transfer portal and other programs. And though I agree, both of those two elsewhere, it was a loss. It was a loss due to the experience they provide, the talent that they have, the big play ability that they present to the table. But when you use certain buzzwords like crippling, huge, big, that is where I respectfully disagree with that statement. But you have so many people saying, not having Drew Sanders, big loss, crippling, it hurts not having those two. You have so many folks going, Bama losing Drew Sanders, 5-star. Bama losing Jamir Billingsley, 4-star. That's a massive, massive, massive loss for Alabama football. And first and foremost, I want to start with this. I want to commend both of these two young men. I wish them the best where they are now. I wish them tremendous success where Drew Sanders with the Arkansas Razorbacks, Jamir Billingsley with the Texas Longhorns. But I'm going to get into why this was not as much of a crippling loss as what people make it out to be. First and foremost here with one Drew Sanders. Drew Sanders is a good player. Drew Sanders is a very big-time talent. Sanders was a 5-star in the 2020 class. He came in with Will Anderson. He came in with Chris Braswell. He came in with Quandarius Robinson. Drew Sanders is a big deal. Absolutely. Was a big-time outside linebacker in high school. Was a big-time tight end in high school out of Texas. I'm not taking anything away from Sanders. And when Chris Allen went down at the beginning part of the 2021 season against Miami, and we saw Drew step up, making big plays, pressuring the quarterback, getting that experience under his belt there. And he played good, and he played well, and he played solid. But Dallas Turner is just a completely different cat. And sometimes when you are a dog yourself, but you look over next to you and you see a dog that's got more explosiveness, more burst, more get off, more edge, more big-time plays in him. Sometimes it just is what it is. And for all the people talking about this, have you not noticed how uberly talented Alabama's outside linebacker room is right now? Do you not know how uberly stacked that room is? I mean, Sal Sunseri is putting this together more than T.I. was putting guns together. I mean, do you see how stacked that room is? Alabama brings back Will Anderson, Dallas Turner. You still have Chris Braswell. You still have Quandarius Robinson. You still have Keanu Coate, and then you bring in guys like Jeremiah Alexander, and then you bring in guys like Curtis Perry, and then you have a guy like a Kendrick Blackshire who could be an inside linebacker or an outside linebacker if the Crimson Tide chooses to cross-train him. Like, this is a stacked outside linebacker room right here. Just going back to Dallas Turner, who had a phenomenal freshman year here for Alabama. I'm gonna put this right here for you. Here's a stat, Alabama fans. I want you guys to let this rest here on your cerebellum. Let this rotate on the brainstem. Let this marinate here in your minds. Alabama has had quite the number of dynamic duo pass rushers in its history of football here. When you look at this here, so Eric Curry and John Copeland, the bookends from 1992. Curry and Copeland that season combined for 21 sacks. They each had 10.5. So 21 sacks there. Curry, Copeland in 92. Then you look at 2015, the duo of Ryan Anderson and Tim Williams, 2015, they had 16.5 sacks. Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams, 16.5 sacks in 2015. Then in 2016, Ryan Anderson and Tim Williams combined for 18 sacks. So 18 sacks, 2016 for Anderson and Williams. Now you look at this past season. Will Anderson and Dallas Turner combined for 26 sacks. 26 sacks for these two. This is more than Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams in both years, 2015 and 16. This is more than the bookends, Curry and Copeland, from that 1 year in 92. Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, 26 sacks. And remember, Turner started only 3 games. He played in all 15, but started 3 games. The last 4 games of the season, Auburn, Georgia, SEC title game, Cincinnati, and Georgia again for the national championship. 5.5 of Dallas Turner's 8.5 sacks came in those last 4 games. Dallas Turner had more sacks as a freshman than what Will Anderson had as a freshman. Think about that right there. So 26 sacks for these two combined, Anderson and Turner. We're looking at the new Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams. We're potentially looking at maybe even a better duo, than Curry and Copeland based off just the athleticism, off the production and the potential production for the future in terms of next season. So as good as Drew Sanders was, and he was good, to say crippling loss, hurting loss, bad loss, this is going to really affect Alabama, I respectfully disagree on that. Wish him the best at Arkansas, because Arkansas and Sam Pittman, they got a good player. They got a really good player. Fantastic player. But to say this is a crippling loss, disagree with that one respectfully. Now we turn the page here to Jamir Billingsley. Everybody saying this, crippling loss for Alabama. And Jaleel kind of knew when he hit the transfer portal, I thought, keep your eyes on Texas, because Jeff Banks recruited him. And, with the success that he had with Steve Sarkisian in 2020, when Sarkisian was Alabama's offensive coordinator, I kind of thought if Billingsley was to go, keep your eyes on Texas. And as talented as Jaleel was, as much potential as Billingsley had, sometimes you're just not a fit, Sometimes you're just not a fit. When you talk about playing at Alabama, you got to be able to fit at Alabama in terms of not only having the talent, but having the drive, having the work ethic, having the want to, having the heart. And sometimes when you watch Jaleel out there in the field, you wonder, where's the work ethic? Where's the heart? Where's the energy? Where is the want to be on the field as an Alabama player? Maybe he finds that in Texas. Maybe so. Maybe he finds that in Texas. But for people saying, oh, this is just a crippling, this is a bad loss for the Crimson Tide, Cameron Latou is back for Alabama. Cameron Latou played better than Jaleel out there. Cameron Latou had 8 touchdown receptions this season. I think he had all Power 5 tight ends. And if he would have held on to about 3 to 4 more balls, he probably would have had 12 to 13 touchdown catches and maybe would have been a first-round pick. But when you look at Cameron Latou, he gives you effort, he gives you energy, he gives you consistency, he gives you the want to being out there on the field. All he's got to do is tighten some things up. All he's got to do is fine-tune some areas. All he's got to do is clean some things up. And then you also look at, you have Robbie Oots back, who served in your fullback role prior to him getting hurt, but he's a tight end. So you got Robbie Oots back. Then Bama signed 2 freakish athletes at the position in this 2022 class. When you talk about Elijah Brown, of whom our own Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, spoke on, Brown has the body of NFL guys like your Travis Kelce's, like your Travis Kelce's, like your Antonio Gates, if you will, like your Jimmy Grahams. In terms of former Alabama tight ends, he has the body of your O.J. Howard. So, and then you bring in Amari Black, who is built similarly to Jaleel Billingsley, probably a bit thicker than Jaleel. So you've got Elijah Brown and you got Amari Black there joining Cameron Latou and Robbie Oots at tight end. As much as, yes, it's a loss, it hurts a little bit not having Jaleel Billingsley, but people go crippling loss, huge loss, bad loss. It's going to really hurt Alabama. I respectfully disagree there with those statements. But it's going to be interesting here. You got both of the Alabama opens week 2 of next season in Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns. It goes down to Austin to face Jaleel Billingsley mano a mano. That's going to be fun right there. That's going to be a fun matchup. And then next season, you go up to Arkansas, so you get a chance to take on Drew Sanders face-to-face. That should be fun right there as well. But we go to a break here, folks, on the show. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started. When we get back, we go on the phone lines. We grab your calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your interactions. How are you feeling today in celebrating Martin Luther King and talking Tide football? We get to you guys after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
What's up, Bama Nation? This is Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman, and you're listening to my guy, Stephen M. Smith, in my own words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide, roll!
9 players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they've put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
We are back in from the break to the action. Number one form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Got the man John Ivory in the production studio. Got some more super chats to get to. So how about Jimmy the Bad Man Clay again with that $25 donation, throwing it in the bag, helping us out here on the show. Behind Jimmy Clay, we got D. Joshua Benjamin with that $10 donation. Showing love, appreciate D. Joshua Benjamin helping us out. Behind him, we got Donnie Chappelle with that $19.99 in the super chats. Appreciate Donnie Chappelle. That daily super chat goal of $75 has been met. Appreciate you, the fine fans, the fine family of Crimson Tide Football, helping us out right here. We go to the phone lines to take your calls. The call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be heard, 205-448-1358. We grab our first call. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name, where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen, this is Jim Gallagher out of Dallas, Texas.
Jim, what's happening, man?
Well, if you don't mind, I didn't get a chance to talk to you last week after the Natty. And if you don't mind, I'd like to go back and just briefly touch on that national championship game and come up with some stuff that what I saw and what I think happened during the game.
Sure.
I've heard a lot of people talking about how we missed Jamison and Mechie in that game, and we certainly did. Unfortunately, they weren't in the game, so we didn't get to use them to see how much good they would do. But I haven't heard anyone say exactly how much we missed them. So if you don't mind, I'll read you a couple of numbers here. In the first game against Georgia for the SEC championship, Jamison Williams had 7 catches for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mechie had 6 catches for 97 yards and 1 touchdown. I think he played roughly 2.5 quarters in that game. I'm not saying that Alabama would have beaten Georgia because Georgia played differently defensively in that game. I'm not saying they would have beaten Georgia, but they sure would have had a lot better chance if they had those 2 guys and had that production. I don't know if you remember me saying that I thought field goals would be real important in the game. And sure enough, I think for 3 quarters, that's about all the scoring there was field goals, because we had, 2 teams that had, by that time, Alabama did. I'd just say they were pretty close to being on a par defensively with Georgia, and Georgia had the best defense in the country. So I figured it would be, a lot of defense in the game. But You got to hand it to Georgia there, whether we had enough players, or not, but, had our star receivers or not. You got to hand it to Georgia because about halfway through that third period, I think, when they started the game-winning drive that produced the win for them, the interception, pick six, that was just garbage. But when they actually imposed their will on us in that last touchdown drive, I think the defense was tired or just whipped, because all of a sudden their runners started peeling off runs of 4, 5, and 6 yards during that drive. And they hadn't done that the whole game. And nobody had done it against Alabama recently. And I think our boys was just basically whipped there at that point in the game. And I figured at that point the game was over. I'm not ashamed of them. I'm not embarrassed of the way Alabama played. I think those kids played their hearts out. I think they left everything on the field, and I think we ought to all be proud of them. But at the same token, I will say this, you got to hand it to Georgia. When they had to win it, they won it. And I would congratulate Georgia for their effort in the game, and I would congratulate them on a national championship.
Absolutely. Appreciate that call that coming from our own Jim Gallagher, starting us off right here. Georgia played well. Georgia had a good game. Of course, Alabama, if it could have capitalized on a few of those opportunities in the red area, could have went differently, but Georgia played a strong game. You got to give kudos to the one Kirby Smart and the job that he and his staff did. We continue with calls here. Taking this one, you're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name, where you calling from.
Steven, it's your boy Coach Smoot, man. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, man? Doing great, man. How we feeling?
I'm feeling good, man, and I just want to give kudos to Jim Gallagher. He outlined it real nice on, pointing out the key aspects of why the game went the way it did. The only thing I say differently from what he said that I have to kind of disagree with was Kirby still didn't have an answer for Jameson. When we hit that play over top, that play without a Jameson injury affects the rest of that game, how they play us in the pass pro. But the moment he goes down, you want high safety and you can lock up everywhere because that Bryce isn't comfortable with the receivers on the field. The chemistry isn't there. You could live with those chances and take those chances. So that's where I say Kirby has grown up and showed us that he was ready to make the turning point. He made the not a slight adjustment. He made a huge gamble with adjusting and letting his guys play football again. And it wasn't even scheme now. You had the experience edge. Everybody's like, Georgia had 3 freshmen catch all these touchdowns. They're freshmen playing since game 1. This is not the same. Brock Bowers came on the scene game 1 against Clemson and made a name for himself. Same with Mitchell, same with the rest of those guys. So Ringo, first defensive touchdown score of the season for Georgia was by Keeler Ringo. So it was a learning experience for our guys, and I could see the determination and that sense of accountability amongst our program. What I do want to comment on also, Stephen, is the departures. I'm glad a lot of those guys left for the league. I know, everybody's like, no, not Christian Harris. I think it was his time. I think Christian Harris is going to be a solid second-round pick and be able to grow more in the league as he continues to play middle linebacker. He might end up getting pushed to that jack position, kind of like a Tyrann Mathieu type player because he has the quickness. He doesn't necessarily have the size that you want for an NFL inside linebacker. I'm pretty sure they can get him up weight-wise, but Christian Harris is an athlete. But it was some guys I wish would have went on. DJ Dale, Byron Young, DeMarco Hellams, Jordan Ballard. I really wish those guys would have, took their chances because we got a lot of young talent sitting on their defensive line in the secondary that, given with talent, that they should be on the field, but it's hard to, put them in the game because they're not getting those reps that's needed. And it's a tricky thing to play with, and you don't want to lose quality guys that need game reps, you know. And so hopefully the competition is open in spring camp. Drew Sanders leaving was good for us. All that edge talent we got sitting on the side, man. Everybody say Drew was a good player. Yes, he was a good player, but Dallas Turner, anytime you have a good two good players and one clicks and one does it, it's one of those things. And everybody say Drew, if Drew wouldn't have got hurt, we wouldn't have known about. No, Drew and Dallas were splitting reps, and the production was there. Drew made some good plays, but Dallas was an impact every time on the field. Dallas was way more physical, and they have, you know, the same athleticism when you talk about rating their athleticism. So there's no loss there. You got guys, like you said, Stephen, Jeremiah Alexander coming in. It just depends on which side he's going to play on, who he's going to come behind. And then I'm ready to see Deontay Lawson. I'm ready to see Blackshear. I'm ready to see these guys get meaningful reps and compete. And then offensively, Jamir Billingsley, I'm like everybody else, I'm glad to see him gone, man. He just never bought into me. He never bought in. Even last year when he was able to make big plays, he wasn't the focal point. He never bought into me. And it's one of those things where you say, you know, thanks but no thanks. And you got some young guys that's coming in hungry. The two has shown his work ethic. He's going to lead by example. He may not be the vocal leader, but if he somehow becomes a vocal leader in that room and is able to set the tone, imagine what those young guys will have to feed off of and coming into this next season. You know, it's just so much to look forward to. I'm ready to see these questions, answers on the O-line. Who's going to be plugged in to come along? Seth Mclaughlin, I think, has the trust of the team as far as the center, so that'll be big for us. I just see a bright future for us. I see us being able to click this wide receiver room. I feel like it's going to have the best offseason we've seen in a while, competition-wise. Slade Bolden leaving was a smart decision for him. I think he knows he's a second-day, third-day guy and is prepared to be content with that and work his way up as he gets contracted. And it sometimes that's just the best way to go. Capitalize on it. You know, use your mind sometimes and stop trying to prove something because of a brand. You know, guys got to learn how to take care of themselves and do what's best for them instead of trying to live up to a brand. And I think that's what Saban is teaching these guys. But Stephen, that's all I got, man. I can keep going about just the changes and the things happening at the university, but I like the turnover right now. Usually we'll be kind of sad about players leaving, but I like the turnover. Too much talent waiting and resting, ready to get out there and show what they got. So appreciate you taking my call, Stephen. Shout out to everybody in the chat, Blue Ridge gang, and I'm out, man. Roll Tide.
Appreciate the call that comes from our own Senator Hines, a.k.a. Coach Smoke, here on a Monday. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Stephen? It's Craig Young. I know you know who I am. But I'm calling out of Alabaster. So I agree and disagree with a lot of points that were made. I am happy a couple of people went to the NFL. I am not too sure about Christian Harris. I think he could have stayed one more year, and I think he could have made more money if he would have stayed one more year. I mean, you think second round you get $2 million. First round you get 10 and up. Now, one other thing I'd like to say, it don't really matter who went to the transfer portal or whatever, because at the University of Alabama, we do three things, and we keep doing those three things. We reload, we rebuild, and we repeat. That's what Alabama is good for. So I'm not worried about anything as in winning games. I believe in the Crimson Tide. I've always believed in the Crimson Tide. And all these fans that are not happy with what's going on, go like somebody else. We don't need you. We need someone that is there for the Tide 100%, good, bad, ugly. That's all I got for you, Stephen.
Appreciate the call. They're coming in from my man Craig Young here in the Birmingham area in Alabaster calling in. We grabbed this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you're calling from.
This is Marcus from Montgomery.
Marcus, what's happening, brother?
I'm glad for the turnover as well. I like that the receivers that we got usually don't have a chance to play all season, but with the injuries to those key people at the time, they got experience at the most important time. Sorry about that. So the receiving core now is probably a little bit more dangerous than it was last year because we do have some unknowns. Well, we know of them, but we don't know what they're fully capable of. Bryce Young coming back. We got that running back from Georgia Tech. Receiving core coming together. Like you said, the tight end is doing well. We've yet to see the Great Wall play. So I want to see those people get in and get reps as well. All the defensive stars coming back. I think next season is the season that's championship or bust. This season was not so much. Kind of disappointing title game, a lot of drop passes. But the receivers got the experience, and I'm ready to see them play. I just think it's going to be a real dominant force. Probably, I'm calling like 92 era defense. If we can get a comparison to that, I want your thoughts on that. But also, I think the offense, if everything clicks and everybody stays healthy, I think it'll rival Mac Jones in his performance and what he did. And I think it's definitely championship or bust next season for the Crimson Tide football team. I'd like to know your thoughts. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate Marcus from Montgomery with that call. 1992 era type defense is what he's saying for next year, for the group here next fall. And that's interesting right there. I feel like if guys can stay healthy, that was the biggest problem with Alabama's defense from this past season. When you have Josh Jobe go down, Jalen Armour-Davis go down, Christopher Allen go down. If guys can stay healthy throughout the entire season through, and this is on Jeff Allen, David Ballou, Dr. Matt Ray, if guys can stay healthy, if his training staff can keep guys healthy, big chance here that this defense can be really, really good, top 5 for the upcoming season. But 205-448-1358. Continue to get your thoughts in here. 205-448-1358. We transition here to this topic, and that goes to freshman, goes to outside linebacker Dallas Turner, who will start his sophomore year in the spring. And Turner had a really strong freshman year, highly impactful. 30 tackles for him. He had 8.5 sacks. He had 10 tackles for loss. He had 5 quarterback hurries. Turner was one of 4 players who finished the season with double-digit tackles for loss for the Crimson Tide. As I mentioned, he had more sacks in his freshman year than Will Anderson had in his freshman year in 2020. Turner played in all 15 games but had 3 starts in the last 4 games of the season. This young man, 5.5 of his 8.5 sacks coming in those final 4 games. He earned freshman All-American honors from the Football Writers Association of America. So big ups there to one Dallas Turner. And it's going to be fun to watch what he and Will Anderson do together starting this spring, but in the 2022 season. I am pumped to watch that right there. We're going to go to a break right here, folks, on the show. Don't touch that dial, just getting started. When we get back, we get into the 5 position groups that U.S. fans have got to be giddy with glee about when you discuss spring football. We set you guys up for spring ball at these positions right after this.
You know what we do at the start of the 4th quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the 4th quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football 4th quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters.
Look at all these great players in Touchdown Alabama magazine. Man, wait till I turn up this year. I'm gonna be on the front cover. But what if Will goes off? Or Joe, DeMarco, Chris, Tim, Christian.
Don't wait. Order now at touchdownalabama.com or call 833-483-2624 today.
Christian or Jamir.
Back in from the break, folks, here on a Monday, talking Crimson Tide football and honoring the legend, the great, the incomparable, the massive man and leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here on MLK Day. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. My man John Ivory in the production studio, and we're going to now get into the positional units that U.S. fans should be giddy with glee about when you talk spring football. Alabama's returning a lot of guys here to this 2022 team. Quite a few guys decided to not pursue the NFL draft, but to return for next season here at the University of Alabama. So going from 5 to 1 in terms of these guys, these position groups, getting Alabama or pursuing or looking to get Alabama back to the national championship stage where it can finish the job. Starting this off here at number 5, we're going to go with the wide receivers. Wide receivers here at number 5. This is a group that's going to be high, fun, exciting competition. And while, yes, it hurts losing 3 names to the NFL draft. It hurts seeing Jamison Williams, blessing from the transfer portal, incredible talent, incredible young man, pursue the NFL draft, but I wish him the best. He is going to be a phenomenal pro. When you lose a John Mechie to the NFL draft, he is going to be a great pro. Losing a Slade Bolden to the NFL draft, he will work his way into the league as well. But when you look at the guys coming back in a Trayshawn Holden, in a Ja'Cory Brooks, a JoJo Earl, a Christian Leary, and a J.I. Hall. When you look at the guys Alabama has signed in this 2022 class, and Aaron Anderson, and Shaz Preston, and Kobe Prentice, and Isaiah Bond, just so much talent. And the crazy thing is, with Bolden gone, that slot opens wide open because who want it? JoJo Earl, you want it? You can come get it. Christian Leary, you want it? You can come get it. Guys like Aaron Anderson, Kobe Prentice, you want it? You can come get it. That slot is open for business. And then the inside and outside, you look at the X and Z positions, going to be interesting here. When I look at a J.I. Hall, I can see him at that X spot. Yes, in the national championship game was not his finest performance. He was targeted 8 times, suffered some drops. He did make 2 catches for 52 yards. But the thing I like about it, he owned up to it. He apologized. He owned up to it. I think that moment finally got him to lock in and understand, hey, the little things matter in terms of playing at Alabama. My work ethic, my practice habits, my stuff on and off the field, everything matters in Tuscaloosa. Everything matters in practice. Everything matters when I play in front of these fans at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I think that moment truly locked Hall in, and I could see him at that X position at the top of the formation. At Z at the bottom, it could be Trayshawn Holden or it could be Ja'Cory Brooks. Either or. Could be a coin flip there. But all 3 positions open for business. X, Z, slot. Going to be fun to watch here, this wide receiver room, and see who gets those starting spots there. But that'll be number 5. Number 4, the running back position is one to be excited about because Bama is stacked again on the roster. Losing Brian Robinson here to the NFL, and a young man that epitomized what it meant to be a Crimson Tide running back, was patient, waited his time, waited behind so many great players, got the opportunity, ran with it in 2021, was a 1,000-yard back. Wish him the best in the league. But the Crimson Tide returns. Jace McClellan's back. You got Trey Sanders back. Roydell Williams is back. Kamar Wheaton, who we did not see at all last year, he's back. Then you bring over Jamir Gibbs from the transfer portal out of Georgia Tech, a young man that had over 1,800 all-purpose yards a season ago with 7 touchdowns. That's going to be fun. And then you have 2 freshmen in Emmanuel Henderson and Jamarian Miller. What's interesting is, how will this pecking order be in spring? Like, how will the pecking order fall? Could Alabama lose a running back or two to the transfer portal? We'll see how it all plays out. But this spring is going to be fun here at running back. And just looking at Jamir Gibbs and McClellan, the combination of those two, that's going to be fun. Because they do a lot of similar things. They run the ball well. They catch the ball out of the backfield. You can spread them out as receivers. It's good, really good pass blockers. Like those two, Gibbs and McClellan, that's going to be fun to watch. And then also, who's the 1-2 punch? And then who's the change of pace back, right? Because in the history of Alabama, especially under Nick Saban, the Crimson Tide has always had that 1-2 punch, that thunder and lightning, and then here comes that change of pace guy that has a defensive coordinator going, what the heck is this? How do we stop this cat? Like, where did they get this dude from? Huh? What? Well, where did he come from? So that's going to be fun to watch also. Who creates the 1-2 punch, and then who's the change of pace guy that just throws everything off for an opposing defense? Running back room, entertaining to watch here in spring. Going on up to number 3, the weak side linebacker position. That is going to be fun battle. Henry To'o is back for his senior year. He will man the middle as the Mike linebacker, but who will play next to him with Christian Harris gone to the draft? Alabama's got 3 guys. You got Deontay Lawson, you got the love child of Reuben Foster and Mac Wilson, and one Kendrick Blackshire from Duncanville, Texas, and then you got Demoy Kennedy. Those 3 guys. I think Deontay Lawson from Mobile will get the first look. He's rocking number 32. That's a very special number right there. C.J. Mosley made 32 special. Rashaan Evans made 32 special. Dylan Moses, it was okay. But Deontay Lawson has a chance to get that 32 back to being special. And I remember he tweeted out, everybody know Alabama will be back, and everybody knows it. That Alabama will be back to the championship stage. And watching Lawson going back to the spring of last year, he really played well in that A-Day game. So Lawson at 6'3", 6'4", 215 plus pounds, guy can play. Guy can dissect plays. He can stop the run. He can hit gaps. Guy can play. Spent time this past season learning the Alabama defense, though he did play in 4 games. When I look at Kendrick Blackshire, the guy will light you up. Can hit. Heat-seeking missile will take you out. Watched a lot of his high school highlight tape down there in Texas. The guy, when he gets his hands on you, you are going down. Now, prior to him coming to Alabama, he spent some time working on his speed, his footwork, his quickness, how much of that has improved. We will see here in spring ball, but a second guy that will get that look at weak side linebacker will be Blackshire. And then Demoy Kennedy, who hails from Theodore High School in the Mobile area, same program that produced C.J. Mosley. Going to be fun to watch him. I know he spent more time as an emergency running back this past season, but Demoy Kennedy is also a guy to get a look as well at that weak side backer spot next to Henry To'o. But that position, that's going to be a fun battle, a lot of fun competition here in the spring. If I had to put my guy right now, I would go with Deontay Lawson. That would just be my guy for this spring. We'll see what happens. Going up here with number 2 in terms of positions to be happy about for spring ball, Alabama's defensive secondary. Basically, everybody's back. I mean, I know you lose Daniel Wright to graduation. I know you lose Josh Jobe and Jalen Armour Davis to the NFL draft, but everybody else is back. I mean, Jordan Battle, that was shocking to me. He had 3 interceptions this past year, 2 pick sixes. I thought for sure he was taken off of the draft. Decides to come back. DeMarco Helms back. Brian Branch back. Malachi Moore back. You have a Kool-Aid McKinstry and a Kyrie Jackson who didn't play all that much a season ago. Now they're going to have some time to work on their game, work on their craft, watch some film, clean some things up, get better as the 2 outside corners. And then you have Eli Ricks, the transfer from LSU, and a young man in his career, 6 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, had 4 picks as a freshman in 2020. So where does Eli Ricks fit in all this? Does he play outside corner? Does he play slot corner? How does Nick Saban, how does Pete Golding, how does this defensive coaching staff structure this secondary? That's going to be fun to watch right there with mostly the entire group back there on that back end. And last but not least here, folks, the backup quarterback position. Ho, this is going to be fun. You got Bryce Young back, Heisman Trophy winner. But what are we all enamored by? Who's the backup, right? Who's the backup? Who's going to be behind, Bryce Young, wowing us and impressing us and looking like, this guy is going to be good too. You got 2 trigger pullers here. You got Jalen Milroe, 4-star Texas, had a touchdown pass last season in the game against Southern Miss. A guy that's incredibly strong, squatting, throwing weight around, gifted athlete. And then you got Ty Simpson, who can do a lot of things in the air, throwing the football. He can do a lot of things moving around as a runner of the ball. It's going to be fun watching these two. It's going to be fun watching these two. Which one of these two takes the competition, takes it over, and becomes that guy, that primary number 2 guy behind Bryce Young. So people this spring get excited for March and April. These positional units right here, these positional battles, this competition, going to be fun here for your Crimson Tide. We take another break here on the show and touch that dial. When we get back, we return to the phone lines, getting your calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your interactions. It's coming right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your 4-finger bling necklace.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Marvin Constant, All-SEC linebacker and 1999 SEC champion. You are listening to In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to WhitwellSports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full-year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We are back in from the break here on a Monday. Number 1 ticket, number 1 source here for your Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have you guys in here. Gucci Tide with that $10 donation in the Super Chats, helping us out here, showing love to us on the show. We go down to the phone lines to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in, 205-448-1358. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Well, I said I'd make my return after the championship game, but I didn't. It took me this long to process all this, Stephen. We're going to have a defense like we had in 1992. Whoever said that, I hope they're listening to me. I want whatever you smoking, and I want a big sack full of it. We hadn't had a defense since Jeremy Pruitt left Alabama. Period. The secondary looks like a bunch of kids out there jumping around, ain't got enough talent to win a checker game. Brian Branch didn't even know that was a damn fumble, and the referee threw the beanbag down. What in the hell are they doing down there? What's going on? I have never saw such confusion and delusion, and I don't even know what you can call it anymore. Then you got Billingsley on offense. He's on his skates like he's over at the Palisades. Well, it wasn't the Palisades, over at the ice rink over there at wherever it was in Birmingham. I mean, awfulest player. They should have kicked him off the team. If he'd have been on the 1990 team with George Teague and that bunch, Derek Lassick, well, they'd have kicked him out of the locker room. He never would have come back. He wouldn't have got it. The coaches wouldn't have had a chance to kick him off the team. They would have. Man, I'm like Derek Lassick was the other night. I'm so mad I could shoot tacks and blow him in the wall. There's no excuse. I mean, total dominance in the SEC championship football game, and then come in there. I mean, even if you got the top guy hurt, I mean, the talent is there to catch those balls were put right in their hands. They just didn't catch them. So just like George Teague said, I can tell you why he didn't catch them. Plus, too, he's afraid he's going to get jacked up. Hell, you can't hit them boys like you used to. Like Derek Lassick said, they're playing flag football now. He didn't catch a ball because he's afraid he's going to get his bell rung. He ain't going to be worth a flip next year on next year's team. I hope he hits a transfer portal, too. If that had been O.J. Howard caught that ball on the sideline, he'd been in the end zone for a touchdown. He's slow. He ain't got no speed. I can name off other tight ends that have smoked him. It'd have been in the end zone. I mean, 1992, y'all quit dreaming about 1992 ain't coming back till you get the talent or get a coach there to be able to do both of them together. You got to have the talent and the coach. That's not happening. Those elite defenses just don't happen every year. I'm an Alabama fan through and through, but when it's not right, it's not right. I mean, something just is not adding up right. I mean, you had seemed like to me there was a lot of people on that football team just didn't get along. Or maybe there's a lot of attitudes, or maybe it's just people that were selfish. I don't really know how to put it. I mean, I'm still so upset about it. It's unreal. We still SEC champs. We beat Georgia. That means we still SEC champions. That means that Georgia's not. Georgia beat us in the championship game, but we still beat them in the SEC championship game. And, beating Auburn, that's one good thing. But y'all need to forget about that 92 defense. That's not going to happen. If we get a defensive coordinator at Alabama or we get the talent, and but both together, it's not going to happen. But, Stephen, what's going on in the secondary? Is the secondary ever going to improve? Tell me something. Is it ever going to improve?
That's gonna be the biggest question here. That's gonna be the biggest thing, Waylon, because you bring everybody back with the exception of Job, Armour Davis, and Daniel Wright. But it's gonna come down to Eli Ricks out of the portal. How does he fit in? But then Kool-Aid and Kyrie Jackson, your two outside corners, who did not get a whole lot of playing time this season, but the potential is there for both of those two. But can they clean some things up? Because you saw there were moments last season where Kool-Aid got beat. You saw there were moments last season where Kyrie Jackson got beat. Now, there were moments he had good coverage, but there were moments where he also got beat. So can those two get some things cleaned up? That's what I'm saying. This spring is a very important spring.
Well, yeah, I agree 1,000,000% with you. And this is going to be one of the biggest turnovers Alabama ever had. This may be the best coaching job if he wins a bunch of ball games with the younger players as he's got, all the players that were in transfer portal, all the players that were going on to the NFL. Do people not realize what has been lost on this football team? I mean, and team speed. I looked at team speed Monday night too. Awful. I thought the team speed was a little faster than what it was. The only over-the-top guy we had was Jameson. I mean, that was it. And Mechie, but that was you got to have a little more speed than that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a coach, a player, or nothing, but I mean, something's got to improve. Our defense has got to improve. Defense still wins championships, and you could tell it was defense there went Monday night because it was field goal after field goal. Alabama just got wore out. They got beat down. Their defense didn't have enough depth to keep them getting wore down. If we'd have had some depth, they might have could have only played a little further. But that's what they get paid $10 million a year to get those kids down there. But all right, y'all sounding good. Blue Ridge Gang #1. All this money donating Friday. I'll tell you what, somebody loan me $1 while I'm buying me a popsicle or a hot dog up here at Sonic. I'm broke anyway. I love all of you. I'll be back here maybe in a few weeks. I'm still sick. I don't even know what to say. I got to go throw up. Bye.
Appreciate weighing in there for the caller. They're weighing and fired up, man. Weighing and fired up. That's the passion of an Alabama fan right there. That's the passion of an Alabama fan that wants that excellence, that demands that excellence, and love it right here on this show. We continue with phone calls right here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steve. This is Robert from Chicago. How are you?
Robert, doing pretty well. Pretty good, man. How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, I've kind of laid low too and listened to all the comments and adjusted the game. And I still think Alabama had a great year. I mean, hell, we were within 10 minutes of winning the game. But I'd like to go back to a couple comments as well. And it starts with this secondary situation. I think the new secondary coach is going to be key that comes in.
Absolutely.
As I look at the corners, they just don't seem like they turn and get their heads around tracking the ball. And you really see it when you watch the pro games yesterday. All those corners, even if they got beat, they at least got their heads around. They were tracking the ball. And so I think the two corners are going to be critical decision makers in terms of who plays and the training that they get. I think from a safety standpoint, I was surprised that Battle came back. I thought he could have been a first-round draft pick. So that's a real great situation we have with strong safety. But I'm not sure if DeMarco Hellams is a free safety. I think he should play, but, again, watching the game last night, even though Pittsburgh got smoked by Kansas City, watching Mika Fitzpatrick at free safety, the range he has, the hitting ability, the tackling ability, being able to, take the appropriate angles. We need to look at some other options to Hellams, which leads me to my last point. We got to find a way to get Malachi Moore on the field this year. I know he had some injuries, but I could see him potentially playing free safety. I think he should be more involved in the nickel and dime because he's a ball hawk, and he's not big on size, but we need somebody who can be deep with these corners. Every time they get beat, they never have safety support, and that's a problem. I think the other area we need to look at is running back. I think with McClellan coming back and Gibbs, we can be a lot more dynamic in spreading the field with the passing game to the running backs. And when you compare us to other years, while we had great wide receivers last year or this year, Brian Robinson, he was a pretty good receiver, but, there was no concern about really covering sideline to sideline. So I think the strength of this team this year should be the running game, particularly coming out of the backfield and using the electric nature of McClellan and Gibbs. On the receiving standpoint, this Isaiah Bond kid that's coming in, I looked at his tape last night out of high school. This guy is going to be critical in terms of taking the top off the defense. So I hope he's able to start because I think he's going to be the critical enabler from a wide receiver standpoint. I know that's putting a lot on a freshman, but I think we're going to need him. And the other person that really I think we need to look at, and I hate to give him this nickname, but the way he was trying to catch the ball, I call him Edward Scissorhands. This is our guy, Hall. I think he's got the talent, but he's got to have some real work on how to catch the football. But I think if we can get him turned around, he can be like one of the receivers we've had in the past, like Amari Cooper or somebody of that ilk, because he's got the size. You just got to get the hands. And then the last comment is what was touched on by somebody, but I thought was probably the most provocative and salient point of all. We got to get these conditioning coaches to have better results and metrics because all these soft tissue issues we've had. I mean, I looked at the pro games last night, and, these guys are making tremendous cuts, and they're not crumbling to the ground with ankle and knee injuries. So we got to find what's going on there and do a better job of having our team, with better conditioning because at the end of the day, that may have been a difference in us winning a national championship is really the conditioning of the team. So stream of consciousness, Steve, as always, appreciate your thoughts on any one of those subjects I've covered.
Appreciate it, Robert from Chicago, giving us those thoughts right there. And just the one on DeMarco Hellams, I've always felt like Marco was playing out of his position. He fits more of the profile of a dime linebacker, having him more so in the box, close to the ball. Malachi Moore fits more of the profile of a free safety, the range that he plays with, the intelligence, the instincts, the high football IQ. What's weird is, Malachi started the year at free safety against Miami. That's where he got his first pick of the year, and his only pick of the season was against Miami. And Alabama played him at free safety. So I'm not quite sure why they didn't really truly stick with that. But here again, spring football, a chance where you can put a DeMarco Hellams as a dime linebacker, have a Malachi Moore at free safety, and roll with it from there. We continue with this call right here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling tonight? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Steve? Elijah from Jersey. What's going on, man?
Elijah, you're doing good in yourself, man.
Oh, man, I'm hanging in here. I'm just looking at all these people on the chats talking about, this defense is going to be this defense next year is going to be that. That's the same thing we said last year when we had all these people turning on the defensive side of the ball. And the best thing you can do is just wait and see how these people pan out. Sometimes it takes guys 2, 3 years to develop, to really get the niche of the defense. Other people, they catch on quick. Last year was the same thing. The defense was supposed to be our strong point coming into this year, and that didn't happen. The offense had to take over and control games earlier on in the season, at the beginning of the season. So with everybody talking about the defense is going to do this, the defense is going to do that, you just got to wait and see. We got to see how Kool-Aid pan out. We got to see how Rick's pans out, because let's be honest, we've seen Henry To'oTo'o ball out at Tennessee, and then when he came to Alabama, the first few weeks he looked like he was completely lost, like he never played linebacker before in his life. He was missing tackles, people were all over the field, misplaced and things like that. So especially with the type of defense Alabama plays, is very complicated. So you got to give people time to grow in. It's a lot of different checks that go on that defensive side of the ball that people as fans are not aware of. But with that Drew Sanders, everybody was all up in arms about him, Steve. I was never fond of him for one reason. I just thought he was a good run-stopping linebacker. He was a very good run-stopping linebacker, but I didn't think he possessed a strong pass rush, and he kind of looked lost out there in pass coverage. And I understand that might not have been his strong points, but playing that type of position, you need to be a good pass rusher in Alabama's defense. Like I said, I think he holds the point of attack real well, but that's just one part of becoming a solid outside linebacker in Alabama's defense. Now, I always like Dallas Turner because maybe he wasn't as good of a run stopper as somebody like Drew Sanders, but he can apply the pressure. He has good pass rushing abilities. But, I know Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, they got everybody hyped. But people better not sleep on this kid, Jeremiah Alexander, coming in here. I mean, that kid is a beast. Don't think he's going to stay off of this field. That kid is going to see the field this year, Jeremiah Alexander. I say he is the one out of all these kids that are coming in that's going to put on a show. I really feel with the way he blew up at Thompson, you couldn't even stop that kid, and he has the size already. That's my number one freshman coming in this year, is Jeremiah Alexander. But, as far as the season goes, Steve, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of these freshmen, a lot of these sophomores should have gotten into the games so they were more ready. They were more prepared. You can't take an Ajay Hall. You can't take some of these other guys and have them playing on the biggest stage in college football and expect them to perform. These are freshmen. They was just in high school last year. Now they playing on the biggest stage in college football. You can't expect that of a kid. So one of my last things I just want to say is people don't realize Malachi Moore, yeah, he was good, but Deion Branch stepped up late in the season. There's no reason why Malachi Moore should have been on that field ahead of Deion Branch. I don't care what he did the year before. You got to play who's shining right then and there, and Deion Branch stepped up. Helms was shaky all year long. He started playing well at the end of the season. He started playing like that 2020 Helms, but Deion Branch, without a doubt, man, he was balling at the end of the season, and I don't know what was the matter with Malachi, but Deion Branch definitely should have been on that field. Battle, I'm happy to see him back. Joe, he could have went to the NFL or he could have transferred for all I care, because I'm not too fond of how Joe play. And Jalen Armour Davis, same thing. I hope these guys do turn it around next year, Steve, man. But like always, thank you for taking my call and appreciate it.
Appreciate Elijah for calling in right there. Going to be interesting to see how this Alabama team looks next season, starting off in spring. If I've said this once, I've said this several times. This is going to be a pivotal, this is going to be a crucial, this is going to be an entertaining spring. So if you're an Alabama football fan, if you crave Bama, if you really crave Bama, this spring is going to be one for you to watch and keep your eyes on. We continue with phone calls right now. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, it's Mattress Matt.
Mattress Matt, what's happening, brother?
Hey, man. Waylon got me fired up earlier, so I figured I'd call. Yeah, I don't understand the Pete Golding thing. I mean, he was, why do we still have an intern as a defensive coordinator? I mean, why do we have elite people at, every position except defensive coordinator? I don't know. I think he has a soft spot in his heart, for Pete Golding for some reason. I'm thinking it's because they're both short. That's my theory. They're both like short in stature. Some people that are short, man, they have they sympathize with other men that are short. But anyway, who knows? Next year, we should have beat Georgia. I mean, we should have just caught the passes, and if everybody just done their jobs, we should have beat Georgia. Georgia was not the better team. So the Alabama dynasty is not going anywhere. There's just people out there salivating that the Alabama dynasty is now on its downturn. They've been saying that for like 15 years, and it hasn't happened. So we're just gonna make upgrades. Is all we're gonna do. We're not losing anybody. We're losing them and replacing them with an upgrade. You feel me? You have a great night, brother. Love you.
Appreciate Mattress Matt from Mobile calling in saying upgrade. So we're upgrading here from a BMW to a Tesla. We're doing that right now. BMW to a Tesla. Upgrades made across the board here. We take this call here. You're live on the show. How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Steven? It's Anthony from Long Island, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, and yourself, man?
I'm good. I can't complain, man. The callers got me fired up. A lot of people making some real valid points along with yourself. The main thing for me is the corners. I know that recently the cornerback coach left. I think he went to Oklahoma. I'm not sure, but previous years, maybe you could fill me in this on this information. As far as Nick always has been involved personally with the cornerbacks. Is that correct? Right?
He is. He's always involved. Yes.
All right. So the one thing that I just can't wrap my head around is that I don't know if it's just the players not doing it in the game, because I doubt they're not being taught to turn around. And I know a bunch of people, and you probably, of course, touched on this before. It's just it's the most mind-boggling thing for me for Nick to be involved in that, him being as good as he is as a defensive coordinator. Because when you watch other teams in college or just anything, and you watch them and the corners turn around, it's just frustrating. And it's been for a while now. I mean, obviously the Minka Fitzpatrick's and the Eddie Jacksons, 2016, 15, those were like the last years of where they just really turned around. I mean, we had ball hawks that year. I mean, I remember the non-offensive touchdowns that those defenses were creating. And I just want to get back to that as far as the secondary, as far as just being ball hawks. Just not so much. You ain't got to make those interceptions and bring them back to the house, but just get your head around and find the ball, because a lot of times when you watch the games this year or just past years, we would have a way more interception rate compared to a pass interference rate if they just turned around, even just the batted balls down. So that's the main thing for me that I want to see improve. Injuries, of course, is another thing. I forgot which caller touched on it, but I remember the two guys they brought in. I'm not familiar with their names, but they were brought in. Both are, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, from Indiana, and they were supposed to be the step up from all these injuries that were occurring, and now it feels like we're just heading in that direction again. So that's just something, I don't know if that's internal or just because of just the whole COVID thing and everything kind of just messing things up or scrambling things. But those are the two things that I really want to focus, and I'll be focusing on this coming up for this Alabama season. I'm excited. Honestly, you touched on all valid points. The 5 points I think you touched on was hitting the nail right on the head. The players that you touched on hit the nail right on the head. I do want to say for Elijah that just called in, the guy, Jamir Alexander, I think his last name is. I agree with him 1,000% on that one. I think you got to watch for this dude, and he could be that guy that's causing havoc along with Dallas Turner and Will Anderson. But yeah, that's the two things that I'm focused on that I do want to see corrected. I don't want to see him improve. I just want to see him corrected because it's been going on for a few years now and it's lingering, and I don't know if that's lingering and just building something that's consistently happening over and over. But other than that, I'm excited. We have the two best players in college football coming back, Bryce Young and Will Anderson. They're on the opposite side of the ball, so that pans well even more. And I'm just excited for what this wide receiver room is too, because like you said, it's wide open. With the Slade thing really surprised me. That's probably the most thing that I was surprised about. People going, not the billing thing. The billing thing was obvious, and I don't want to rag the kid, but for me personally, if you feel that way, you should just leave. I wish he would have just left earlier. Nothing against him. I hold absolutely no grudges, but it was just obvious when you watch football. You don't even got to know football to watch it to see that it's just no effort. But yeah, the Slade thing surprised me, and that just opens it up. So I want to see the Christian Learys, like you said, the JoJo Earls of the world really shine. And I'm not glad that Slade and Mechie and all of them left. I wish them well. I always do every Alabama player. But I'm excited because now that opens up, because there's really Trayshawn Holden, most experienced, as far as game time. So it's exciting. So I want to see these young boys shine. They actually obviously get a chance. Maybe they dip into the portal. I don't know, but I wouldn't like them not to. I would like obviously Bryce to get a lot of practice in with all of these kids that have been in there for a few years and coming in now, and get some cohesiveness with them so that they can build it for years to come. So that's what I got for you, brother. I appreciate the platform, and I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, Anthony from Long Island coming in now or calling in. But getting back to the defensive backs conversation here, you look back at the DB coaches Alabama's had under Nick Saban when you talk Kirby Smart, who harped on turning your head around, playing the ball, facing the ball, being in phase, having the right technique. Like Kirby harped on that, and he would get in guys' faces harping on that. Jeremy Pruitt the same way, harped on eyes on the ball, turn your head, face the ball, be in phase, be in position, perfect technique. Have it down, have it down. You know, Pruitt did that. Derek Ansley did that. Stayed in your face, harped on it, play the ball, attention to detail, eyes on the ball, turn your head. And then Mel Tucker in 2015, who turned the secondary around in 1 year. He harped on that. And then Carl Scott harped on this. So Jay Valai, didn't get a chance to really see him harp on things just due to COVID being involved and myself in the media along with other guys not being able to be out there on the practice field. So not quite sure what Coach Valai did, but with him now at Oklahoma, it's going to be pivotal for whomever is the cornerbacks coach. They have got to harp on, look, bruh, turn and face the ball. Get your head around, identify the ball, play the ball. Whether it's a pick, whether it's a pass breakup, doesn't really matter. Play the football. When you see that receiver's eyes get big as the moon, turn, play the football. So whoever that cornerback's coach is to replace Jay Valai, got to harp on that. Take a call right here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
It's Richard from Birmingham.
Richard, what's happening, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Steven? It's Richard from Birmingham. Man, it's a pleasure to be on with you.
Absolutely. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, man, I was just wondering, man, everybody's talking about the defense. Turn that down, son. Everybody's talking about the defensive backs, our wide receivers, the quarterbacks. What I want to know, Steven, is what you think about our offensive line and our defensive line. Two of the most important positions that we have. I was wondering about next year coming in, that what you think about our offensive line, how they're going to do, what's your take on it? And that's my question towards you, man. Could you, just let us know what you think about that?
Okay, so that, Richard, was going to actually get into the final topic here of the show, but I'll let a little bit of air out of it. So, offensive line, for me, I think the safest guy on this group is Seth Mclaughlin at center, 3-star from Beaufort, Georgia, in the 2020 class. We saw how he came in, second half of the Iron Bowl, really stabilized that group, and played well as a starter throughout the season. So I think McLaughlin's good there at center. As far as the guards, I like Javion Cohan. There's still some things I want to see him clean up and become more consistent in, but I like the potential that he has. Emil Ekiyor, he's okay at right guard, but I would open up competition there. I would look at Terrence Ferguson, maybe a Jayton Roberts, one of those two guys from the 2021 class, maybe even a Tyler Booker, Dane Shore, Elijah Pritchett from this class right here at that right guard position. At both tackle spots, it is Latham and Brockermeyer time. Both of these two guys came in high 5 stars in the 2021 class. It is time to see these two live up to this hype. Latham and Brockermeyer time in terms of the offensive line. But that's my thoughts right there. We go to this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, this is Tobias in Phoenix, Arizona. How's it going, Steven?
Tobias, doing fantastic. And yourself?
Good. I wasn't even mad that they lost a championship game, because he kind of be reflective. Is that how he got? This is Saban's best coaching job since they got Blake Sims to playoff and throwing the ball in the end zone with a quarterback who was playing running back the whole time. Yeah. Yeah. And I do have to shout out Brian Robinson. It's that man busted his butt. He worked, and Saban rewarded that man. And I want people who want to I'm not mad at anyone transfers, but you got to remember also, you put in the work and you see what happens. But y'all talk about the defensive backs that turn their head. I remember that Texas A&M game. Well, I think it was Hell had that pass interference against that tight end late in the game. If he had turned his head, it would have been a pick because that ball was a duck. And just playing the ball, that will save you from those pass interferences or getting beat. Because if you're getting beat, you start panicking. And I think, like with Kool-Aid, he showed promise. once he got in there. Kyrie Jackson, he busted his butt. He just ain't played that much. So now once you start playing more, you understand the nuances of those receivers, also what they do, their tendencies. And I think they will be all right next year. But I do want to shout out Bryce Young as well for something I think a lot of people are missing. When Tua and Mac Jones was here, all we heard was, they had the best offensive line, the best running backs, the best receiver core. Bryce Young was down all of that against Georgia. He still put a 300 and still was throwing dimes under duress the whole game. That shows how special that kid is as a first-year starter. And he battled to the end. And some quarterbacks we've seen out there would have folded like a cheap suit. And so I just want people to see that he battled to the end and was putting balls there. It's just the young guys weren't ready. They'll be ready next year, and they'll get a game under their belt before they play at Texas. And I thought this was going to be the year where they will be that national championship team, because it should have been the year Georgia beat Alabama, Stephen. We'll keep it a buck. This should have been their year, the veteran team. You know, Alabama breaking a lot of guys, had injuries. Offensive line wasn't as good against a generational defense. That should have been their year. And so I give that coaching staff credit. I give those young guys credit for getting farther than, honestly, they should have gotten. And I'll say my last thing. Bryce Young kept them in the game against Arkansas, the defense they have at the shootout. Auburn, nobody, they didn't have it, kept them in, let them down the field. Georgia, hey, receivers out, offensive line was a swinging gate, kept them in it. Be thankful that we have a quarterback that can win and keep this team in games multiple ways. And I look forward to next year, because I think next year it's going to be one heck of a year for the Tide.
Appreciate that call right there coming into the show. So before we go to a topic right here, people, I just want to say this. Whoever, and I want to reiterate this, whoever comes in here as the cornerbacks coach has got to harp on play the ball. Get your head turned around and play the ball. Much like Kirby Smart did when he was here, Jeremy Pruitt when he was here, Derek Ansley when he was here, Mel Tucker when he was at Alabama, and Carl Scott when he was here. No offense to Jay Valai, but I just felt like at times guys were like, do I play the ball now? Now? How about now? Now turn your head now, son. Did not see those guys really turn their head and playing the football. So whoever the cornerbacks coach is, got to harp on playing the football there as it is in sight. But we transition here to a quick little topic here in terms of Alabama football, and the topic goes to Jalen Armour Davis, for Alabama cornerback who has declared for the NFL draft. Armour Davis has signed with Rock Nation Sports, the agency by Jay-Z. So Rock Nation Sports gets his hands on Jalen Armour Davis. JAD this past season had 4 pass breakups. He shared the team lead with 3 interceptions. A lot of people have him projected or mocked as a day 2 pick between the 2nd and the 3rd round. We will see how it all falls, but kudos to JAD linking up there with Rock Nation Sports, signing that deal right there with Jay-Z's label. But we go to a break right here, folks. Don't touch that dial. When we get back, we get into a conversation on the offensive line and how this group can be improved with helping Bryce Young next year, but especially in the spring. We'll talk about it after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSFootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSFootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We're back into the action here, folks, from the break. Number one form ticket alert of entertainment in terms of Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciate everybody for calling in, writing in, donating in, texting in, chatting in, making this your show, your network, your platform, your space to talk Crimson Tide football. As always, Bama fans, you check out tdawear.com. Do it right now, tdawear.com. We got your hoodies, we got your shirts, we got your pants, we got all things when you talk Alabama football apparel, Crimson Tide apparel, tdawear.com. Show that support here for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at TDA. That link is in the description. You can check us out right now, tdawear.com. Get your gear today. That link there in the description. But beginning out the offensive line for Alabama, and this is a group starting in spring that it's got to improve. It's got to improve. You go back to 2020, that group with Landon Dickerson, Alex Leatherwood, Evan Neal, Deontay Brown, all that group was special. Mac Jones was sacked 13 times that season. Probably the least sacked quarterback in college football. This group right here, Bryce Young was sacked 40 times. And that's just the sacks. He was probably hit twice more than that. So this group has to get better. This group has to improve. And first and foremost, it starts with the O-line coach, Doug Marrone. Is he back in the spring? Because as you notice, Bill O'Brien has been interviewing for different NFL head coaching jobs. Now, he has not been hired for one. He's not accepted a job yet, so still employed as Alabama's offensive coordinator. But in the event, I'm just saying, in the event Bill O'Brien was to take one of these NFL head coaching jobs, he and Doug Marrone have always been kind of a packaged deal. So if O'Brien was to leave the Crimson Tide, I think he would reach back and take Marrone with him, possibly, probably, more than likely. We'll see. But that'd be the big first question. Would Marrone be back as the offensive line coach for the spring here where the Crimson Tide is concerned? If he is, then you look at first and foremost on the offensive line, I think Seth Mclaughlin is the one really safe guy. Because, like I mentioned, he came off the bench in the Iron Bowl and in the second half. And he really structured, he really galvanized, he really stabled this offensive unit. If you remember that final drive there where he got in there and, of course, protected Bryce Young, helped the team get up and down the field for the game-tying touchdown to Ja'Cory Brooks, the tie of the game at 10. And set up the 4 overtimes. Alabama won the game 24-22. The SEC championship game, McLaughlin handled 6'6" Jordan Davis, made him non-existent, made him non-effect, made him a non-factor. We're in terms of getting to Bryce Young. McLaughlin played extremely well. Then in the Cotton Bowl, McLaughlin opened up those holes, those running lanes for Brian Robinson to have a 200-yard day, 204 yards rushing. So McLaughlin's fine. McLaughlin's the one guy that is hook, line, centered, in my opinion, at that center spot. You do not move him. You keep him right where he is. When you look at the offensive guards, I think this is a spot that needs to be improved here. This is a spot where it's got to be some open competition. Now, I like Javion Cohen at left guard. I like Cohen. There's some things that Cohen can do to improve himself, to clean some things up, to get himself better. But I like the potential. I like the power. I like the moxie. I like the tools that he brings. Just some things for him to clean up. Now, at right guard, where Emil Ekiyor is concerned, that is where I think some competition needs to be opened up. Because as talented as Ekiyor is, and he's got experience, there's just some moments where he was just getting teed off out there. Like he was getting his clock cleaned out there at times. And guys was just, taking him off the ball, taking him off the snap, so to speak. And when you look at guys like a Terrence Ferguson, who came in the 2021 class as a natural guard. You look at somebody like a Jaden Roberts, who came in the 2021 class as a natural guard. You look at somebody like a Dane Shore or a Tyler Booker. Both of those two guys came in this 2022 class. You've got some natural guards, so you've got some natural players that can play in that phone booth. So I would like to see a little competition here at that right guard spot in terms of Emil Ekiyor on the offensive line. But the big thing here, folks, Crimson Tide will be replacing both tackles, right tackle and left tackle. Here is what everybody wants to see. The 2 5-stars that came in that massive haul of offensive linemen for 2021, on paper, the greatest class Coach Saban's ever brought into Tuscaloosa. J.C. Latham, a 5-star. Tommy Brockermeyer, a 5-star. It's time to live up to all of his hype. Both of those two at both tackle spots. It's time for these two to live up to all of this hype. Both guys have the size. Latham at 6'6", Brockermeyer at 6'7". It's time to see what can these two young men do. Because if these two hit at both of these tackle spots, you take that number of 40 sacks that Bryce Young had this past season, you dwindle that down tremendously. You dwindle that down because I want to see how quickly can this offensive line gel. How quickly can these guys have a rhythm? How quickly can these guys have a connection? How quickly can these guys have a chemistry? How quickly can these guys bond together? Because when I go back to that 2020 line for a moment, Dickerson, Leatherwood, Deontay Brown, they played a lot of football together. Evan Neal and there also played a lot of football together. So, those guys clicked instantly to start the 2020 season because of the amount of time they played together, the amount of time they spent together, the amount of time they bonded together. That's what made that particular unit a legit group that won the Joe Moore Award. So when I look at this offensive line starting this spring, how quickly can they gel? How quickly can they bond? How quickly can the chemistry and the continuity and all of these types of things that make a unit of 5 work together as one? How quickly can this get put together? But I do want to see here at both of these tackle spots, J.C. Latham, Tommy Brockermeyer, the time is now. They both came in as elite 5-stars. They both came in with the size, with the talent, with the potential, with the physical makeup. Let's see what they do. But as always, Tide Nation, you want the best in news, notes, information, and coverage on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple. Google Play Store if you got the Android phone for your audio listening needs. Check us out, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. Folks, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link will be found in the description. If you're trying to get the fresh edition, print edition of TDA the magazine, you go to touchdownalabama.com. You click join, become a member, a subscriber today for the magazine. That link in the description also. If you're trying to get your hands on that 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of weownthefourthquarter.com. That's weownthefourthquarter.com. That link in the description too. But until next time, folks, husbands love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing, to not be bored. You get you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and you know what it is. You've been listening to In My Own Words.